We have so many participants already joined up, and with multiple registrations, I'm hoping many, many more to come in. And while they keep joining, we'll respect the time of the others who've already entered. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning from different parts of the world that you're joining in for. Thanks for joining in today. Talking about motivation. Motivation is a theoretical concept that explains the reason people engage in specific behaviors. It is a feeling of interest or enthusiasm that makes individuals want to accomplish something. In the classroom, teachers want their students to want to learn, isn't it? So, how do educators help their learners to do this? Goal theory suggests students are motivated by different goals, including performance and learning. This particular webinar will look at what learners need to know about motivation and goal setting in order to enhance their chances for success as self-directed university students. On behalf of Team Shiminli, I welcome you all to be a part of this session that talks about fostering student motivation and goal setting, things that you wish to know as an educator and can contribute to your learners' development towards the same. I'm Ruchira Banka, an educator for around 2 decades now, and grateful to Shiminli to provide us a platform where teachers can collaborate and learn from each other. In this endeavor to spread importance of developing life-ready skills, Shiminli not only runs live interactive sessions for students from grades 1 to 12, rather also provides professional development opportunities for teachers to support their learners. Motivation and exploration is one of the core skills that Shiminli focuses on. Let us know more about it from our guest speaker from the day, Professor Matthew Peach. Professor Matthew is a lecturer in Global Gateway Platform at Baylor University, specializing in English for academic purposes and instruction. His prior roles encompass ESL program coordinations at Amarillo College and ESL instruction at diverse U.S. post-secondary institutions. His academic credentials include MA in TESOL and MA in Adult Education and Distance Learning, a BA in English, 2 Associate of Applied Science degrees, and intermediate level in Spanish that he studied in Mexico. I'm glad to have you here with us and looking forward to this session, Professor Matthew. Over to you.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. It's my pleasure to be here with you today. And before beginning my presentation, I'd like just to take a few minutes to familiarize you with Baylor University and the Global Gateway program. Baylor was established in 1845, and it stands as the oldest institution of higher learning in Texas. It is esteemed for its commitment to the Baptist Christian faith. Baylor is located in Central Texas, which is a southern state along the U.S.-Mexico border. In December 2021, Baylor achieved R1 status, joining a select group of only 8 other private institutions within a Power 5 conference in the United States as R1 universities. This designation empowers Baylor to engage in cutting-edge research while simultaneously upholding its Christian dedication. Pathway programs cater to international students who are already eligible for admission, but require further enhancement of their English language skills. These students participate in English for Academic Purposes, or EAP courses, alongside their regular college classes, which contributes to their graduation requirements. International students choose Baylor's Pathway program for a variety of reasons, as shown in this slide. First, acceptance to a great university. Next, lower English and GPA entry requirements. And GPA is an acronym for Grade Point Average. Next, highly personalized one-to-one support, better chances of success, ease of transition to Baylor and the US, and students finish with up to 1 semester of Baylor credits. In the event that you or anyone you know would like more information about the Global Gateway program, please feel free to reach out to us. At this time, I would like to begin my webinar on fostering student motivation and goal setting. At the end of my presentation, I'll be happy to address any questions that may exist, or elaborate on any content areas that you may desire. My learning objective for this presentation is that by the end of this webinar, you will be equipped to convey motivation and goal-setting knowledge to your students, thereby increasing your learners' chances for academic success. Although studying abroad offers students many exciting opportunities, it also brings daily challenges in terms of academics, culture, and language. So in order to increase students' chances for success, we as educators must teach learners about the importance of motivation and goal setting. In 2004, educational psychologist J.E. Brophy proposed that motivation to learn is an acquired competence developed through an individual's cumulative experience with learning. He explains this journey is a web of connected insights, skills, values, and dispositions that is developed over time. Regardless of the educational level at which we teach, we know that some students enroll in university with high motivation to learn. In contrast, others are motivated by the economic opportunities associated with the profession and careers they hope to have once they graduate. Yet, despite a student's general disposition, motivation can be activated or suppressed in specific situations. In fact, it goes without saying that a student who is generally motivated to learn may be less enthusiastic in a course that he or she feels forced to take because it's a required element of the general education program. Conversely, a student who seems generally unmotivated to learn may become quite enthusiastic about learning in a specific course. Given the significance of motivation in achieving academic success, and recognizing that many of our students may not have deeply contemplated what inspires them, it is essential for us to collaborate with our learners in expanding their understanding in this area. When discussing this topic with my students, I usually begin by delving into the two primary categories of motivation: extrinsic and intrinsic. As we know, extrinsic motivation stems from external influences like other people or the environment. It emerges when individuals are driven by the promise of some type of external reward or the avoidance of unfavorable consequences. For example, students might find motivation in maintaining a specific grade point average to secure a scholarship or advance to general studies. On the contrary, other students are motivated by intrinsic factors, and these are rooted into the individual's unique interests, desires, and personal standards. This form of motivation arrives from an internal compulsion to accomplish goals. Now, to illustrate, a student might opt for advanced mathematics courses as elective subjects due to the profound satisfaction they derive from solving problems and reaching correct solutions. This inner sense of fulfillment propels them to work diligently and surmount challenges, driven by the sense of accomplishment that comes with problem solving. When intrinsic motivators are in play, an individual's decisions and actions become deeply personal, as their own thoughts and reasoning serve as the driving forces. Subsequently, I conveyed to students that, contingent upon the circumstances, both extrinsic and intrinsic motivation holds sway and can facilitate their goal attainment. Nevertheless, intrinsic motivation tends to wield greater power, as when an individual achieves goals for personal fulfillment rather than external factors, the sense of accomplishment often carries more profound significance. Once I've conveyed this information, I encourage my students to delve into the driving forces behind their actions and choices. Now, to kickstart this exploration, I prompt learners to reflect on what inspires them to pick up a book, attend class, maybe complete a class project. And after giving them a moment to ponder their responses, I emphasize that addressing these questions can enhance their self-awareness and guide their education decision-making in a much more personalized manner. To ensure a comprehensive exploration of both external and internal motivators, I guide them to consider the specific facets of their academic lives and contemplate how motivation influences their decisions and actions. To facilitate this process, I provide them with the following 5 questions to help unravel their academic motivations. Number 1, what motivated you to apply and attend university? Consider the elements that shaped your university application journey and the rationale behind your choice to attend Baylor. Number 2, what motivates you to pay attention in class? Reflect on the times when your concentration was at a peak during a lecture or when you were most inclined to engage in a class conversation. Number 3, what motivates you to complete assignments and study for tests? Contemplate the moment when you discovered it most effortless to commence your tasks without succumbing to procrastination. Number 4, what motivates you to keep working when you are challenged or struggling in a class? Reflect on the strategies you've employed to surmount academic obstacles and actions you've taken when faced with academic difficulties. And number 5, what motivates you to work hard in a class? Consider the instances in your academic journey when you motivated yourself to strive for your highest potential. With these academic motivators in mind, I encourage students to identify the most compelling ones for themselves and document them. I emphasize to students that by consistently reminding themselves of what truly drives their motivation, they can effectively take actions that not only provide personal fulfillment, but also enable them to persevere through challenging periods. As previously mentioned, students' comprehension of their academic motivations yields valuable insights into their potential success at the university level. Furthermore, one's mindset, encompassing their self-perception and outlook on the world, plays a significant role in determining their achievement in a university setting. The correct mindset can influence an individual's decision-making, actions, and their approach to overcoming challenges. Additionally, qualities like resilience and grit, which denote an individual's capacity to recover from setbacks and disappointments, also exert a considerable influence on student success in a university environment. Following extensive research dedicated to achievement and success, psychologist Carol S. Dweck of Stanford University has identified 2 distinct mindsets that individuals can adopt: a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. Each of these mindsets exerts unique effects on one's accomplishments and successes. Individuals with a growth mindset hold the belief that characteristics such as intelligence and personality are not rigidly fixed, but rather they can evolve and expand over time. When someone possesses a growth mindset, they tend to view challenges as chances for personal development. Such individuals actively seek out new experiences and embrace learning from their mistakes and feedback. On the contrary, individuals with a fixed mindset often hold the belief that people are innately endowed with unalterable qualities, such as predetermined levels of intelligence or a fixed personality. When confronted with challenges, those with a fixed mindset may find it more challenging to overcome them, as they tend to interpret failure as an indication of their incapacity to succeed in a specific endeavor. For instance, if a student with a fixed mindset receives a low grade on a paper, they might conclude that they lack writing skills. Conversely, a student embracing a growth mindset would perceive criticism as a valuable input and strive to enhance their performance on their next paper. Now, it's crucial for students to recognize that individuals can have varying mindsets when it comes to different tasks. For instance, someone might discover they possess a growth mindset when it comes to creative endeavors, but a fixed mindset when tackling a math assignment. Conversely, individuals should contemplate the factors that have shaped their mindsets. Have they encountered negative experiences with a particular subject? Did the guidance of a supportive teacher enable them to excel in a specific area? Or perhaps, is the task simply unappealing to them? Wherever students currently stand in their mindsets is perfectly acceptable. The initial step toward transformation lies in honest self-reflection. So as we can see, it's imperative for students to embrace a growth mindset, to rebound from experiences that may not meet their expectations, and to learn from them. To help students cultivate a growth mindset, I provide the following suggestions. First, I encourage students to consider what intrinsically motivates them to persevere academically, even in the face of obstacles. I encourage them to contemplate their goals at the university and identify the motivating factors that will drive their persistence. Whatever their responses may be, it's important for them to keep these in mind during moments of adversity. Next, I recommend that learners acknowledge when they are challenged and when they feel frustrated. Higher education coursework can be inherently challenging, and it's common for most university students to encounter academic hurdles. So I want to emphasize to students that they are not alone in feeling this way. I recommend they reach out to a trusted peer, mentor, or instructor when faced with these difficulties and openly discuss their challenges. Third, I advise students that when they find themselves struggling or their efforts aren't producing successful results, they should take a break. But then it's essential for them to take a step back and analyze the situation while also seeking assistance from someone within Baylor's support network. They should consider if they require extra assistance with their classes, if refining their study techniques is necessary, or if dedicating more time outside of class is the key. I encourage students to concentrate on these actions so they can take as a step forward rather than dwelling on any perceived shortcomings. Now, naturally, motivation demands substantial courage and persistence, as well as a reservoir of resilience, the capacity to rebound from life's setbacks, and grit, characterized by unwavering determination and an enduring commitment to pursuing long-term objectives despite those unforeseen challenges and slow movements forward. In light of the numerous hurdles and adversities that students are bound to confront on their academic journey toward a university degree, cultivating resilience and grit, coupled with adopting a growth mindset, becomes essential for their enduring success. It's important for students to understand that developing greater resilience and grit involves a shift in their mindset, where they perceive failure as a chance for growth rather than a reflection of their personal shortcomings. Moreover, the capacity to manage their emotions and adapt their approach when needed is a crucial attribute for resilient students. The pursuit of a university education is a long-term commitment, demanding endurance, passion, and a clear vision. Therefore, students should recognize that enhancing their resilience and determination is highly advantageous for achieving success in the university setting and attaining their goals. In an effort to help my students to become more resilient and gritty at university, I offer them the following tips. First, when they find themselves challenged, they should write down 3 things that will motivate them to persevere. They should harness the power of both internal and external motivating factors to help them persevere through their challenges and avoid giving up. Next, when they are trying to overcome an obstacle, they should outline 2 or 3 specific steps they can take to help themselves succeed. Individuals are more inclined to continue their efforts when they establish a well-defined path for moving forward. Third, when they fail, they should allow themselves to feel upset, but then they need to figure out how to learn from their experience. Experiencing failure can naturally evoke feelings of disappointment. So it's important for an individual not to suppress those emotions. Instead, the person should dedicate themselves to understanding why they failed and what they can do differently in the future. Fourth, when they get frustrated, they should pause and reflect on what they are trying to achieve and why it's important to them. Taking a broader perspective can assist individuals in maintaining their motivation and preventing frustration from obstructing their path to success. Fifth, when they want to give up, they should take a break and do something that rejuvenates them. Then they should assess whether they require extra assistance and determine when they will make another attempt. Motivation and mindset play a dual role in a student's journey, not only aiding them in conquering challenges, excelling, and attaining success at university, but also serving as invaluable assets in the pursuit of goals. One's goals serve as a means to express personal values, desired outcomes, and the underlying reasons for dedication and achievement. They act as a roadmap, delineating the necessary steps for academic triumph and personal fulfillment, thereby guiding students toward their desired success. Now, students need to receive guidance on setting SMART goals, which stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely objectives. SMART goals are a well-recognized framework that assists individuals in concentrating on their true aspirations, determining the necessary steps to achieve them, and establishing clear indicators of their progress. Setting goals can be a daunting task for beginners. Some individuals may struggle with generating their goals, while others may have a multitude of ideas, but are unsure where to begin. This highlights the significance of breaking down the goal-setting process to make it more accessible and purposeful for students. With this perspective in mind, it proves beneficial for students to concentrate on either short-term objectives, enabling them to pay attention to the finer details of their academic journey, or long-term objectives, which allow them to envision the broader scope of their academic future. Short-term academic goals are particularly advantageous when they revolve around a student's week-to-week progress within a given term. For instance, setting a target to complete 2 chapters of one's chemistry homework each week can help a student effectively manage his or her coursework. Long-term goals, such as attaining a specific degree or transferring credits to another institution, can be dissected into smaller milestones that the student aims to accomplish by the end of each term and year, as well as by the time of their graduation. Over the years, I've discovered that encouraging students to initially focus on their long-term academic aspirations can be beneficial, as these overarching goals serve as a framework for shaping their short-term objectives. So by keeping the big picture in perspective, it becomes more evident which short-term goals are essential for achieving these long-term ambitions. To initiate the student's thought process, I request them to dedicate 10 to 15 minutes for spontaneous responses to two questions. First, what are their long-term academic objectives at university? Second, what short-term academic targets do they have in university? I've observed that this free writing exercise aids in the initial recognition of the primary categories that hold significance for them. As students respond to these inquiries, I encourage them to reflect on the underlying reasons that prompted their decision to enroll in university. In essence, what are their academic aspirations? Are they driven by a specific field of study, a desire to explore various options, or a clear-cut career path? Additionally, I recommend they ponder their values and priorities. For instance, if their well-being is of paramount importance, one of their objectives might revolve around taking a nutrition class or a physical activity-related class. Furthermore, I encourage them to assess their academic strengths and weaknesses, enabling them to challenge themselves intellectually while setting goals that align with their previous academic background. Once my students have their first draft goals in front of them, I have them craft SMART goals. A SMART goal has the following characteristics. First, it is specific, which means the goal is defined with precision and thoroughness, making it evident what the student intends to accomplish, his or her motivations behind it, and the steps needed to achieve it. Second, it is measurable, which means the student can establish criteria for tracking his or her progress in reaching the goal. And these criteria assist them identifying when the goal has been successfully attained. Number three, it is attainable, which means the goal is realistic and something the student wants to pursue. Number four, it is relevant, which means the goal makes sense in the context of the student's long-term plans and is something the student wants to pursue. Number five, it is timely, which means that now is the right time to focus on the goal and that the student can identify a time frame in which the goal can be achieved as benchmarks along the way to assess his or her progress. Now, to assist my students in their goal-setting efforts, I use this SMART Goals worksheet. And the directions indicate that crafting SMART goals helps you determine if what you want to achieve is realistic, and it helps you to establish a deadline. When writing SMART goals, use concise language and include relevant information. Since SMART goals are intended to help you succeed, be positive when answering the questions in this worksheet. So students begin by indicating their initial goal by responding to this question. What goal do you have in mind? Now, one hypothetical goal might be, I want to do well in GBL 1205N1, transition to the US university. So with this initial goal in mind, the student now needs to make this into a SMART goal. In order to do so, the student needs to first focus on making the goal specific by answering the following questions. First, what do you want to accomplish? Second, why is this your goal? And third, what do you need to do to achieve your goal? So one hypothetical response might be, I want to earn a course grade of 85% or higher in GBL 1205N1, transition to the US university. This is my goal because I need high grades in all of my classes to graduate with honors. To achieve this goal, I need to attend classes regularly, learn the material presented, complete assignments in a high-quality fashion, and do well on all quizzes and exams. Next, students need to make their goals measurable by responding to the following two questions. First, how will you measure your progress? Second, how will you know if you've achieved your goal? So one hypothetical response might be, I'll measure my progress by monitoring my grades weekly on Canvas. Canvas, incidentally, is an online language platform or learning platform used by Baylor University and other academic institutions. I'll know that I have successfully achieved my goal by seeing if I earned 85% or higher at the end of the semester. Now, once the student has ensured his or her goals are measurable, the next step is to make sure they are achievable. They should respond to the following two questions. First, do you have the skills needed to achieve this goal? If not, what will you do? So a hypothetical response might be, I'm not sure whether I have the academic skills required to achieve this goal. If I find that I don't have the needed academic skills, I'll seek help from my professor and/or tutor. Next, the student needs to ensure his or her goal is relevant. In other words, why are you setting this goal now? So one response might be, I'm setting this goal now because I'm currently taking this class, and my academic performance in this class will count toward my cumulative grade point average, or GPA, at Baylor. Finally, is the goal timely? When will you achieve this goal, and is this time frame realistic? So a student might answer, I will achieve this goal by the end of the semester. My time frame is realistic because the semester has just started. Now, obviously, this example was given in the context of the term just beginning, thereby enabling the student more than enough time in which to reach this type of goal. Now, once the student has responded to these 5 prompts, he or she wants to take the information from these 5 areas and combine it into his or her goal statement. So, the student is lastly instructed to basically put everything you wrote above, beginning after your initial goal, into the area provided. And as you can see, the result is a concise goal statement in which the student has addressed the specificness, the measurability, the appropriateness, the relevance, and the time of his or her objective. As students embark on crafting their SMART goals, it's crucial that they grasp the importance of maintaining a manageable number of concurrent goals. Having an excess number of SMART goals can lead to confusion and dilution of focus. My recommendation is for students to concentrate on 3 to 5 short-term and 3 to 5 long-term goals simultaneously. Then, as they achieve these goals, they can incorporate new SMART goals into their lists. I explain to my students that SMART goals serve as a roadmap to determine how they wish to allocate their time and direct their efforts during their university journey. Nonetheless, I emphasize that progress toward achieving these goals hinges on taking proactive steps. This is where motivation plays a vital role. I stress to my students the importance of periodically revisiting their academic and personal motivations, as it provides them with a framework for their endeavors, enhancing their ability to maintain their goals. After students have established their SMART goals, they've essentially constructed a pathway with which to navigate their academic journey. Nonetheless, it's evident that each day, week, month, term, and year brings its own set of unanticipated challenges. While many of these obstacles present valuable opportunities for students to adapt and grow, it's imperative that their SMART goals evolve alongside them. To facilitate this evolution, learners should regularly revisit their SMART goals and refine them to make them even smarter goals. The E in SMARTER underscores the importance of students regularly assessing their goals to determine if they remain relevant and evaluating their progress in pursuing each goal. For instance, a student might have a SMART goal to collaborate with a study group in his or her accounting class to focus on problem sets and study for tests each week. Now, in practice, although the student does meet with classmates once a week, he or she discovers the majority of the time is spent socializing rather than productive studying, leading to unpreparedness for the initial tests. In such a scenario, the student might need to revise the goal to better align with his or her academic objectives. Following the evaluation of their goals, students should proceed to address the R in SMARTER, which involves assessing whether and how they might need to revise their goals. To elaborate on the previous example, instead of relying on a study group for academic support, a student could revise their goal as follows. I will participate in weekly accounting review sessions and make use of instructor office hours before each test. This practice of evaluating and subsequently revising their goals is a means for students to continuously appraise what is effective and what requires adjustment in their academic pursuits. Before concluding, I would like to direct you to a 2010 study conducted by Dominique Morisano, Jacob Hirsch, Jordan Peterson, Robert Thiel, and Bruce Shore, in which evidence is shared showing that students who participated in a goal-setting program displayed an increased grade point average. Well, this brings to an end my presentation on fostering student motivation and goal setting. I'm hopeful that the information I provided with you or to you today proves helpful, and I now welcome any questions you may have. Thank you.
Any questions, audience? Professor Matthew has taken us so deep inside the concept of goal setting and motivation. I'm not seeing any questions at all. Any audience who would want to maybe share their thoughts about it, or any strategies that you would have utilized in your classes or in your educational career?
Perhaps one thing that I might mention in terms of how I have my students make their SMART goals smarter is in order to evaluate and redo, once students have established their goals at the start of an academic term, I then have them submit progress reports every 3 weeks. And those reports ask them to basically reflect on the progress being made, to let me know what are the challenges that are being encountered, and perhaps most importantly, the steps that they're taking to get around those challenges, to overcome them. And so it's through this process of tri-weekly progress reports that my students actually report back, and not only does it keep them focused on their goals, but it also ensures that the goals are doing what the student had intended for them to do. So I just wanted to add that point.
Okay, thanks, Professor. At the same time, I have some questions on the chat box, if you wish to take those. Jyoti Gupta says, how to motivate students who have different goals from their parents' expectations?
Yeah, that's definitely a challenge because the parental expectations would be what we consider extrinsic motivators, whereas the students' goals would be intrinsic motivators. And so what I would encourage is that the student try to address as much as possible both of those motivators in his or her goals. I think that's a challenge that we all face in having students who may have, for example, a particular area of study that they would like to pursue, but yet their parents have their own ideas of what might work best for their child. And I think it's only through discussions that the child has with their parents, perhaps facilitated by a trusted teacher or someone at the institution that the student is attending, that the three being the parent, the child, and the outside facilitator, can work towards coming to perhaps a compromise, looking at what would be truly best for the student. It goes without saying that if a student finds that his or her academic strengths are lacking in biology, for example, that the parental goal of having the student become a doctor might not be in the best interest. It would cause the child quite a bit of undue stress and anxiety, and the child might not be successful, and then worst of all, go on to actually have a career in which he or she simply does not enjoy or excel. So I would say we've got to focus on both those extrinsic and intrinsic motivators, and at the same time, we have to open up a dialogue. And maybe it's not just a parent-child dialogue, but also someone, an educator, a trusted person within the child's network that can help to facilitate that challenging discussion. Thank you for that question, and I hope my answer provided some insight.
I think so rightly said that, starting a dialogue and understanding everybody's perspective and point of view is so very important in this case. So another one that comes on the chat box is from Pratima, who says, motivating special educational needs children are a bit challenging. How to handle them in their improvement?
Mm-hmm. In that regard, I think that you have to have, again, the involvement of the parent or the advocate for the special needs student. Because, as I mentioned during the presentation, it's a daunting task for many students to write goals and then even more so to make them into SMART goals. So most certainly, a special needs child is going to need that additional assistance through his or her advocate, additional time given by his or her teacher. Maybe this is something that's not necessarily done during the class, but it could be maybe a study session activity where the student doesn't have the pressure of trying to do this challenging goal-setting activity with his or her colleagues, but would have a little bit less pressure, more time to think and reflect outside of that. But I would certainly say in that case, we need to provide a special needs student with more support and time in which to put those types of goals together to avoid making it into a situation that is overly stressful and then simply not productive. And thank you for that question. Excellent point.
Yeah, I think differentiation is not only required in teaching learning processes, but also the goal setting. Mm-hmm. So the next one comes from Gayatri, who asks you, what is the right age to start working on SMART goals?
Wow. I remember the first time that I was introduced to SMART goals, it was in my freshman year in college. And I don't think that is to say that you need to wait until a freshman year or first year in university or college. I think that this would be something maybe on a slightly less rigid scale that could be done as early as middle school and most certainly in high school. In my opinion, high school students certainly have academic aspirations as well as personal ones. And I would think that that would be an excellent place to start. And it would actually be, in my opinion, beneficial, because then once the student gets to university, he or she is in the routine of doing this, and it's also, it's almost something that they do without thinking. So again, don't use my experience of being a university freshman. I think that was a little bit late in my case. I think that would be something, just in reflection, I could have started as early as middle school and most certainly high school. So thank you for that question.
The next one that comes your way is, how do you motivate and involve the students who have no interest in learning mathematics?
I would say that you have to try to show them the benefits of learning mathematics. At least in the United States, for many, many years, the focus was on completing textbook exercises, being able to demonstrate an ability to solve equations, and then to do well on a test in order to pass the class and then move on to the next level. We in the United States found out that that is certainly not the best method to teach any subject. Students need to see a benefit in the time and effort that they're investing. And if we can begin to show them, and this could perhaps come in career interests or even personal interests, how does mathematics play a role in your interests? So if you're interested in a sports team and this team statistics and how they compare with other teams, perhaps you could introduce mathematical concepts in that respect. If a student knows that they want to go on to become a video game programmer, how does mathematics play a role in that student's career choice? And so I think it's sitting down with our students and helping them to see the relevance, the real world application of courses such as mathematics and sciences. And from my perspective, even language. I teach English for academic purposes, which is only next to going to see the dentist in terms of desirability among many students. So my constant struggle, our constant struggle, is how can we make what we teach relevant to our students? So thank you for that question. Excellent point.
Thank you, Professor. The next question is, can we make it specific to the subject? If so, can you suggest some adaptations possible with the model that is suggested?
That's an interesting question. Certainly one I haven't been presented with before, because certainly when we plan our subjects, we have learning objectives that we set out. And of course, we set benchmarks in writing those objectives. That would honestly be something that I would find intriguing to sit down and see how that might adapt into a SMART goal, because learning objectives are in essence a goal that we have for student performance outcomes. And it would be most interesting to sit down and think, go through the process, can this be adapted? My off-the-cuff remark or answer would be, I'm pretty sure that we could do that. That particular goal, I think, would be most relevant to not only the teacher, but also to the students, as the students need to attain the learning objectives or the SMART goals in order to receive satisfactory progress. So definitely, I think that's something, a challenge, an opportunity to work to look at. But yeah, I think that might be possible, given the similarities between learning objectives and SMART goals. Thank you for that food for thought.
The next one talks about adolescents. How to make the adolescents work on their SMART goals when they're distracted with so many things?
I would say, is there any way that you could integrate the SMART goals into some type of digitized activity, where instead of your students actually having to write down on paper with pencil their SMART goals, is there any type of application that the students could actually use on their phones, on their computers, that would allow them to write the SMART goals in that way? There may actually be, honestly, I haven't looked to see, there may actually be some websites that would be pre-programmed for students to basically enter in the information and thereby making it a little bit more of a 21st century activity in which the students are using some type of digital technology and might be more engaging to them than perhaps what I was accustomed to, and many of us are accustomed to, of the paper pencil routine. So whatever you could do to draw on your students' strengths in terms of their technological savviness, that could definitely lead to greater results and enjoyment by your students.
Okay, great. The next one is kind of a follow-up from one of the previous questions. How the students are motivated to have SMART goal when parents are not much interested in the students' teaching and learning?
Wow. Yeah, that is challenging, and it's unfortunate, and it's nothing that I think is unique to any particular geographic area. Certainly in the United States, there are parents who are highly engaged in their children's academic performance, and sadly, there's parents who simply are not part of that journey. And so I would say, again, going back to the intrinsic motivators and realizing that the intrinsic motivators are more powerful for one actually achieving his or her goals. I again would suggest that we have discussions with students who maybe are in that situation, that part of education is preparing the student for his or her life. And so finding out first and foremost, what are the students' dreams? What are their desires in terms of career, in terms of education? Because once we do that, once we find out truly what our students want, especially in the vacuum of parental involvement, we can then work with them to try to get them excited about moving closer and closer to that goal. And I think, again, once they're seeing the relevance and how it impacts their future lives, it can be a more engaging and much more beneficial experience for them. Because, again, these are goals that are inspiring them to take action, as opposed to goals that maybe their parents would like to see them take. And in the absence of that parental involvement, this is probably the perfect opportunity for more intrinsic focus.
Thank you, Matthew, on this. And I see the last question on the chat box from Eda, who talks about high school students. Some students regard some lessons as unnecessary because they think it's not directly related to their career. For example, the student who would like to have education on medicine may not think that literature is meaningful, although as teachers, we try to show it is very important to their whole personal development. So what do you suggest in such cases?
Yes, there's always going to be those cases. I think that is probably true for all of us. I certainly know it was true for me as a student. There were courses that I had to take as part of my high school program, as part of my university program, that I could not see too much correlation between what I was studying and again, what I intended to do. And so I think what we have to try to instill in our students is the value of the more that one learns, the more opportunities it results in for an individual. And in retrospect, I think that most of us can look back at maybe courses that we took at a particular moment, trainings that we had to do as professionals. Maybe we didn't realize the relevance at that particular time, but then years later, we suddenly found ourselves reflecting on that because it did have some type of application to our lives. And so I know that at the high school age, even at the university age, it's a challenge to get students excited about those types of courses, and sometimes even telling them learning is wonderful for learning's sake. But again, perhaps speaking to the students from a more personal level, which I found is highly effective in so many cases. Often, our students come to us and they think that we have never gone through the challenges that they have, that we've never had the frustrations or the roadblocks that they've experienced. And if we can communicate with students and share with them a little bit about our own journeys, it begins to make us more human. And once we become more human in the eyes of our students, I think the more they value what we have to say, and the more likely they are to apply recommendations that we may have. So that would be my recommendation, is use your own experiences with students, and again, try to get them thinking that it may not seem like something at the moment that is going to value you or be of value to you, but very possibly in the future, when you least expect it, it will be something that you look back on and we're thankful that you actually had exposure to.
Thanks, Professor Matthew, and big thanks to the audience as well for taking these points in, and also, you know, putting in such relevant questions. I think Professor Matthew has been able to answer all of these. Thanks, sir, for sharing us with your expertise. The session, I think, has been able to give us insights on how to keep learners motivated and help them set goals for themselves. I personally like the part where you spoke about guided questions for understanding the learner's motivation, and also how to make smart goals smarter. I think I've been talking about smart goals, but how to make them smarter is something that I got personally inspired from. So educators, I hope you are motivated enough now. And I'm sure you know what the next steps are to take back to your learners. Let's keep supporting them, guiding them by evolving and updating ourselves as educators. So as an educator, I also insist that you look on how Shiminli serves as a support system for you. Reach out to Team Shiminli for anything, any kind of support that you're looking in for skill-based education. And before I close this session, I would like to thank Shiminli and urge all of you to have a look at the programs offered, which I'm sure will act as a supportive tool to bring skill-based learning to your classrooms. For any questions, please feel free to write back to the Shiminli team, and one of us would get back to you soon. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for being a wonderful audience. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.